you often talking about the design, and when you mean design, you actually mean like design of the, things like this cup, for example, right? And in one of your book, you also mention in this the three different
levels.
Levels. So, but here is my question. So you usually mention like the physical words, and when you mention in the concept of the, better design for the humanity, right? You talk a lot about the environment, and by that I understand that, okay, in case we design the phone or iPhone or like any phone, designer need to think about the utilization of that phone after it's being used, right? When we don't need it anymore. So let's recycle it in the proper way, or let's reuse the material or whatever, right? So this is the concept of the physical. However, like our company, we are building the digital products, like, like mobile application, like websites, portals, CRM system, and so on. So my question, is there a way to apply design for the humanity, right, in the digital product design, like, virtual one?
Of course. Well, first of all, the digital technologies are changing the world, because there are now cell phones. There are as many cell phones in the world as there are people. And you can actually make now cell phones that are remarkably inexpensive and yet pretty powerful. And so they're being used by people in many of the underdeveloped nations of the world. And they use them for many different things. Sometimes it's used for education. Sometimes it's used to get information. Sometimes it's used for social actions, to talk to people. They certainly believe and use the social networks. They use it a lot to play games, and it turns out they use it a lot to watch pornography. But the point being, when we discover the young people and the poor people are using their phones to watch pornography and do social networking and play games, a lot of people get upset. Oh, no, we wanted you the phone to educate yourself and to make yourself smarter and get better jobs. And I'm just reading a wonderful book that says, these are people. These are the sort of things that all people like. And yet somehow the rich people think that no, pornography and games and stuff, it should be for the wealthy and the well-educated. It shouldn't be for the poor. Well, it should be for everybody. But the point is that the phones, for example, which are digital, look, everything that's digital requires a device too. It's something that we can hear, see, touch, work with. But some of the processes that we do become addictive. And addiction is not necessarily a good thing. It prevents people from doing the right thing. So why is it that people turn to games and other things instead of to, say, information and things that might enhance them? In part because the design of the information and the knowledge source is usually dull and tedious. So why can't we make that more exciting and more relevant to your life? When something is relevant to a person's life, they will actually spend a lot of time learning it. If you watch people playing a computer game, they are doing all the things that we want everybody in the world to understand how to do, because it means they, first of all, must understand the complexity of the game. They must be able to do experiments to discover what works and what doesn't work. And games are interesting because if it's a shooting game where you kill others or people kill you, when you die, that's a learning experience, because you get to then, because you don't really die, your character dies. So you think about, well, what did I do wrong? What could I do differently? And that's good training. And so a lot of the games are really teaching you many good things about thinking, and you share your ideas with friends. So it's collaborative. So why can't we make the games be useful? Why can't we make some of the activities we do be just as much fun as games, but they're doing something that's of benefit? So there's one way, I think, that we can dramatically improve the world.
We all understand that it's a long and complex process to change the mindset of designers. But what about consumers? In your opinion, will consumers stay satisfied on reflection level when everything is designed based on human-centered philosophy and everything will be like ecology-friendly?
Well, the first problem with designing for consumers is, why are they called consumers? consumers, you mean somebody who consumes? So consumers is part of the capitalistic structure of the world that I dislike. That we treat, instead of treating them as people, oh, good, these are people who will consume our activities and pay us money. And consume also means we have to make it a way so that, if I'm selling food, that's pretty good because they actually consume the food, they eat the food, and when they're all finished eating the food, they have to get more food. You need food for every meal. Or if I read a newspaper, once I've read it, I need to read a new newspaper. But many devices. So there's a big effort to make things that get destroyed quickly. So we used to make refrigerators that would last 10 or 15 years. And the company said, oh, no. I want to be more like when the grocery store, that when I sell you food today, you will come back tomorrow and buy more food. So I don't want the refrigerator to last so long. So now the refrigerators are big and expensive and fancy and all sorts of stuff. And you're supposed to buy a new one periodically. Well, let's stop that. Let's treat not consumers, let's treat people. And let's worry about the impact on everything. And this is true in the digital world just as much. In fact, the digital world is the one that has brought addiction to the products to science, to keep people addicted, to stick to what they're doing. And that's why we have the social networks that do a lot of good, and they're very valuable and useful, and they also do a lot of harm.
Well, you mentioned it for me, it sounds like some kind of, Henry Ford philosophy, because as far as I know, when he invented his first T model car, right? The idea was that it will last as long as possible, and as far as I remember, the engine of every first T model car used to work like 50 years after as the pump on some farm for the milk, like you mentioned, it's supposed to last as long. And right now, the whole market is built in the way that you need to buy new things. Every new year you need to buy the new iPhone. You need to update your software and so on and so on. People are waiting for the new update of their software, and don't you think they're going to be disappointed in case next month they're not going to get update of the, I don't know, Candy Crush or whatever they like and whatever they value, on their phone. Like in case we're talking about digital part. Like in case your dream will become true and designers and everyone will start thinking about that, don't you think it will slow down the progress in the sense?
Yes.
It will.
So what's the matter with that?
Everyone is so excited about the speed, about the fast changing, about, being competitive to each other.
So you become a Western capitalist who thinks that progress, what's called modernism, very important, that everything we do, we have to do it quickly and fast and change, and everything we must change. No. Suppose instead of looking at how fast our new devices come out and our new things that we have to buy and experience, we think about the quality of life. We think about being with other people. We think about enjoying ourselves. Right now, work is sort of foremost. We spend more time at our jobs than we spend with our families. Why is that? Because, we have to work every day so that we could bring out new things quickly. Well, suppose we brought them out more slowly, but left more time for people to enjoy their lives. There used to be people work, by the way, huge numbers of hours every week, every day, and every day of the week. And finally, one day was given off, to go to church. And then that got expanded to 2. And people fought that. Manufacturers said, no, we can't do that. And today the average is a 40-hour work week over 5 days. But why? So there are now people who are talking about a 4-day week. And there are now people talking about less hours, giving people more time to enjoy their lives. And I don't see why we must rush everything. And why is it that we must think we must buy a new phone? And I'm desperately waiting, the new features that will come out on the new iPhone number 27. Is that 27A better than 27B? Or what about 28? I'm going to wait for 28. No, that's nonsense. Not necessary. We should have things that we can enjoy ourselves. Now, companies do have to make money. That's true, because whatever economic system we have, the company has to stay in business. And so it has to do things that are of value, and that if they're selling products to make us, they should be allowed to make a small profit in order to pay for what they're doing, but not an obscene profit, a small profit. But that does mean that maybe we should change the way we do things. And one of the ways is that we don't sell products so much as services. So maybe this is how the telephone company used to work. When you ordered the telephone company, they gave you a telephone.
I believe they're first one who done service, like the service like everyone doing right now.
That's right. And the phone was your phone. You use it, and if it broke, they would fix it. And if there was a new advanced model, they would give you the new advanced model, but not every year. It would be every 4 or 5 years. And it actually worked quite well in many ways. A problem was it became a monopoly, and it stopped competition and new ideas. So there were things you couldn't do with the phone. For example, you couldn't use the phone to send messages, text messages, because that wasn't what the phone company cared about. And so you don't want to stifle this innovation, where sending messages of text is very different than speech, and both have their values. So you don't want a company saying, no, that's not what we want. But again, why don't we slow down the pace of life? There's no need to be so quick. There's no need to have so much stress every day. So many people are stressed in their jobs. They're not pleasant. They're not enjoyable. Yet many of the jobs could be enjoyable if only there was a bit more control. You have a bit more control about what you're doing in the place. And maybe even the choice of jobs that you're doing. And it's not so hectic. So, but we would have just as many good things, but just maybe more slowly. What's the harm in that? But remember, the benefit is a better life for everybody.
So the idea is not to destroy the competition or something like that. It's supposed to be here, but just a little bit, I would tell it not slowly, but more focus, I guess, right? Focus on the moment.
I would say focus on the lives of people.
Well, I mean for the every single human, on their life. Okay, I got it.
But that different people have very different importance.
Well, for sure. I mean, everyone cares for different things.
Because if different people have really different desires and interests and so on, that also gives rise to more varied products. Why is it that every automobile kind of looks the same and runs the same? If you actually look at trucks, I've been watching and studying trucks. There's an incredible variety of trucks because many of them are tailored for the industry they're supporting. So they have all sorts of special configurations, not trucks, but motor vehicles in general. And so the same with automobiles. Why do they all look the same? Why do everybody care about how long it takes to go from 0 miles an hour to 100 kilometers an hour? Who cares?
Yeah, because usually you're not on the race, right? You're on the street and you're on the traffic jam. So these make no sense, of course.
Actually, that's another thing, is why do we have so many crowded streets? Why can't we have more public transportation and devise cities that make it easier to walk to where you wish to go? Did you know that people who live in big crowded cities are healthier than people who live spread out in the suburbs? Why are they healthier? Because they walk everywhere. And they're able to walk everywhere because a nice thing about a crowded city is that there's always a grocery store near where you live. There's a clothing store. There's a bookstore. There's all your various needs. Because it's such a big city, you can have small stores located all around. But you walk because the streets are too crowded to drive or to take a cab or a taxi. And so people are actually healthier.
I actually must do here the reference for one of our another record, which is already on the release with the Peter Sorgenfrei, the ex-CEO of the company called Holo. And what they are doing, they actually developing the automotive mobile cars without drivers, and they made the model for the city of Oslo, the capital city of the Norway. And by that model they calculated that in case Oslo will use their cars, then they will reduce the traffic like by 4 times and make people get to their work by at least 30% faster, just because there are less car, and there will be no fuel because all of the cars are electric, and there will be no drivers because everything is managed by artificial intelligence. And by the fact it's managed by artificial intelligence, you need less car to make people get to their points. So that's about the crowding. So we have dear listeners, we have this record on our channel. You can find it and listen to that. And Don, in case you're interested in that, I can even met you together because amazing guy as well.
Yeah, how much time we need to go into this new humanity-centered design model?
Changes of this sort, you have to measure the time in decades, because people have to learn to think differently, companies have to learn to act differently, governments have to learn to act and respond differently. And changing people's opinions and ways of life takes time. And so I think we measured 10, 20, 30 decades. I'm sorry, 10, 20, 30 years. But, it sounds like a long time. But I'm 86 years. I've been alive for over 8 decades. Well, no, almost 8 decades. And I've seen many, many changes, dramatic changes in everything. Look, the internet, when I was born, we did not have television. We did not have computers. We did not have information technology. And the world has changed dramatically. So even in a lifetime, things that take decades happen. And they do make a difference. But it has to happen slowly. For example, today we are saying that burning of fossil fuel is dangerous for the atmosphere and therefore for people's lives. So we must switch. But what do we switch to? If you switch to electricity, well, where does electricity come from? It comes from burning fossil fuels today. So we have to change where we get the electricity from. And even if we switch to a better system, how does electricity get from where it's made to your home? Well, we have to build all sorts of infrastructure and collect the wires, and it's a very complex problem.
That's super actual problem for Ukraine, by the way, just right now.
It's obviously a difficult problem for Ukraine, and you're seeing what happens when infrastructure gets destroyed. But even the whole world has this problem. And one of these, a lot of people say we must switch. They want you to switch. They want to switch tomorrow, and they get upset when you say no. We must still have fossil fuels, but because they're being unrealistic, they don't realize you can't switch immediately. It takes, again, a decade to build new infrastructure, new electrical generating plants, new sources of energy, like from the wind, from the sun, maybe from nuclear power, and also to bring the transmission lines. In fact, if you do that in 10 years, that's fast. More likely to take 20 years. So start thinking about decades. I tell that to inventors. All these scientists invent wonderful new things, and they say, wow, this will change the world. And I say, yes. And they say, how long will it take? And they say, in 3 or 4 years, we will be changing the world. No.
30 or 40.
Look at history. When a new idea is invented, it often takes 10, 20 years before it actually makes any difference.
So the main influencer for you right now?
It's very difficult to answer because I read so much and I talk to so many different people. I have been heavily influenced by many, many different people, so in some sense, what has influenced me most is the wide variety of people and countries and cultures that I'm interacting with, and learning the differences and learning actual problems the way that people are living today in Africa, in India, in Latin America.
So how do you think humanity by its nature, good or bad?
Difficult. Humanity, as long as there have been people, there have been wars and fights. And so people live well in their communities, but they always are aggressive and fighting with the other communities, the nearby communities. In fact, the closer the other community is physically, the more they fight with them. Community that's far away, they don't care about, and then they may even join in support. So the most difficult problem to overcome, this is what I say in the book. There are lots of technologies and lots of theory, lots of economics and lots of issues that have to be changed, but the most difficult problem is human behavior.
What is the secret of happiness from Don Norman?
Well, I've always had a philosophy in life, which is that I want to do important things, but I want to enjoy doing them. And I've managed that somehow. I don't know how. I don't know what the secret is, but I do think I am influencing many people around the world. My biggest influence has been my books and my students. And I've really enjoyed the life that I've led. It's because I feel like I've accomplished something.
That's true. I can tell you as your student through your books.
But I think that everybody can do that. If you're a musician, you know what's really good is to struggle to play a piece well. When you've done it, it's just a great feeling of accomplishment. There's stress and difficulty in learning and doing it. And I have stress and difficulty in writing books and doing the work I do and interacting with people who disagree in ways that are not easy to work with. But that's life. But when it's all over with, there's a great sense of accomplishment. So in order to be really happy, this is theory of emotion, you can't just have pure good. If you write a book, people who write novels understand that. In order to have a great, successful novel, the hero has to undergo great difficulties. And just as it looks like the hero is going to succeed, some new horrible problem comes and, oh my goodness, how will the hero escape? Well, that's life too. We have to go through difficulties, and that's both learning and powerful. And if we get through them successfully, it feels good.
I believe this is the great point to end. Thank you everyone for the listening. Thank you for being with us, and thank you, Don, for your time. That was a big pleasure. Thank you.
Today we may get to see each other physically again.
For sure. Thank you very much. And welcome to the Ukraine as soon as we'll be safe.
Thank you.